Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where we give you the information you need to make a good decision at the ballot box. So we've got a lot to cover today. Lloyd won't be joining us today. He is down in Jensen Beach or Stuart, Florida, enjoying the South Florida drone meetup that happened yesterday. So he should be on his way back home tomorrow. So great to see that he went to this event, and hope he's having a great time. All right. So let's welcome all the way from New York. Let's welcome my buddy Charles Goluski. Welcome, welcome. Good to see
Hey,
you.
hey Art. Hey everybody in the chat. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. We
Cool.
had a fun-filled weekend politically wise here in Colorado. Yesterday was the state assembly in Pueblo, Colorado, where they get to pick the candidate, well, the delegates. All the
Mm-hmm.
delegates that go there are going to be picking candidates for the primary in June for statewide elections, such as Secretary of State, Attorney General, uh, State Treasurer, Governor. I don't think governor is. I think Pola's term is up in 2 years, I believe. I will find out. But yeah, so we had some interesting things happen there. One is Lauren Boebert secured top spot on the ballot, the primary ballot for Congressional District 4, which is the eastern half of Colorado, which is from northern border to the southern border, all the way to Kansas, all the way to just about Denver. And so that's a big chunk of territory where Lauren's old district, which was the other side of the state, which took that half of the state that goes all the way from, well, I think Steamboat Springs. Well, no, I think it's Jackson County is about the closest, which is right near Boulder County. And Boulder County is where CD2 is. And CD3 kind of goes around the western half of the state and wraps around to the southern part of the state and goes all the way to Pueblo, to where it meets up with CD4. So that is Lawrence old district. So she got number one spot, and I think Deborah Flora got number two spot. So, but Lauren Boebert got 40% of the vote out of a fairly large field of candidates, which was surprising how she got that many. But here's the deal: she's already got an established mechanism behind her campaign to where she's got the name recognition. Uh, she's got she's very popular in her old district, and it looks like she's fairly popular in this district. So that'll be interesting to see how all of this unfolds in June, which also happens to be the same day that the Special Olympics, the special election for that district to fill out the rest of Ken Buck's term, which will go from June, June on to, well, no, I think it starts right now because former Parker Mayor Greg Lopez will be filling in, and he's only going to serve until the election in November. He's not seeking to run again. So he's going to serve out the rest of that term, which is kudos for him that he's, not trying to make a difficult situation more difficult. So that's what's going on. The people that didn't make it to the ballot can petition onto the ballot. So there's another route for the other candidates to try to get onto the ballot in June. So Jerry Sonnenberg, who's the county commissioner up in, I think, Sterling County, which is up in the northeast corner of Colorado, right up against Nebraska. And he's a former state rep and state senator from that area. And he's very well known in the Denver area. I've met him several times when I was pretty heavy into politics back in 2010 and 2012. And I kept in politics up until about, I think it was 2014 was the last time I was involved. I ran for Senate District 20 when I moved from El Paso County to Jefferson County. And found out that there was another candidate running. I decided, I don't want to do the primary thing. Been there, done that. So I ceded to the other candidate who sadly went on to lose to a Democrat. Yeah. So I don't know if I could have done any better had I been the candidate because the district has changed over the last several cycles to where it's become a liberal district. It used to be a pretty solid conservative district, and now it's flipped. So let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Yes. We got Michael, cool cat, all the way from England. And we got Ronnie, God bless America. And we got Steve Knowles, also from England. Welcome, welcome. And we got Brian, Waypoint, New England. And we got Captain Joe America, USA Drone Flyer. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. And probably towards the end of the show, we'll probably see Grant. So this is probably going to be a light crowd tonight because a lot of
everybody's at South Florida drone meetup.
That's right. That's right. Last night's show, my drone show, was same thing. So it was a fun show. Was kind of hoping that James would come on and kind of, let us know what's going on in his neck of the woods. So anywho, so we got to wait until June 25th, which will be the primary election and the special election. And we'll get to see what happens in all the primaries. We got primaries for county commissioner, primaries for state house and state senate races. We got races for, I don't know if we have any statewide races because I know that the two senators, I think Bennett is up in 2 years, either 2 years or 4 years. So we'll have to wait a while for that one. And let's see, I'm trying to think when I think Polis got elected in, you know what? I'm going to have to look it up. When does Polis term end?
I tried to find that out, and all I could find is when he was reelected in 22.
Oh, he was
Reelected in 20.
okay. So yeah. So we gotta wait until 26. That'll be the end of his term. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And I think that's where all the statewide races will happen as well. Like for Attorney General and Secretary of State, Treasurer, and so forth. So, and we'll
Yes.
have a Senate race coming up that year. So,
Yeah, I think that's when probably about the same time when things are going to be happening in New York in terms of our state government.
right.
Although the players have gotten changed around. I used to be in Elise Stefanik's district, but apparently they've redistrict again
Right.
now just before the election, and now I'm in a Democratic district, or at least ways a district where the representative is Democratic. So I'm assuming that the
Okay.
you know that Paul Tonko is who our representative is now.
Oh, okay. Now, do you know what the makeup is in that district? Is it leans Democrat, leans Republican, solid either way? That'd be interesting.
I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those areas that is pretty solidly red in New York State. But of course, that doesn't mean very much because, the most highly populated areas are Democratic. Albany, heavily Democratic.
Right.
New York
Yeah,
City, heavily Democratic.
right. Mm-hmm. And then you got George Santos' seat, which was Long Island, and that is one of
Yeah.
those weird seats that flip every few cycles.
Yeah.
So Santos got thrown out of office by the Republicans, and they expelled him from Congress because of financial shenanigans with his campaign finance. So
Money, yeah.
he got thrown out for that, and they had a special election, and a Democrat won. So all that did was it narrowed the thin margin that we have right now. So hopefully this election cycle, if Trump wins, I think he'll have a down ballot effect, and he'll pick up some marginal seats that were Democrat that they'll flip, and he'll have hopefully a bigger margin in the House and in the Senate, because there are several Senate seats that could flip, like West Virginia. Joe Manchin decided he's not running, and it looks like the Republican that's running is well ahead in the polls and is doing really well. And in Arizona, you have Kirsten Sinema is not running for re-election, and Carrie Lake is running for that seat. She's the former anchor woman from Phoenix.
Right, yeah.
And one of those, I guess, disputes the election results. So,
yeah.
So, and she's polling fairly well in the polls. And then there's, in Montana, that's going to be a tight race where the Republican is running against the incumbent Tester out of Montana. And it looks like we may be able to flip that seat and I think there's a race in Ohio where Sherrod could be unseated in Ohio, which is good. Sherrod or Sherrod, I can't. Anyway, so it'll be an interesting election cycle, and we'll see how all these lawsuits, go. The Democrats are all hoping that they could get these trials going before the election.
Yeah.
So, because they think that, if he gets convicted, people will sour on wanting to vote for him. Yeah, I don't know. I think Lloyd was telling us where they had a candidate that won from prison that won their seat.
Cool.
So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of these indictments, it's bullshit. It was just what they call lawfare,
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yep. Yep.
and it's just really weird how the Democrats they can't really put out their ideals, why their ideas or their policies are better, and they don't think they can win on their policies. I mean, if their policies were were that good and polled very well, they could win. But I don't think their policies are winning because number one, it's the economy, and number two, it's the border, it's the other, and crime, and those are the three biggest things that are going on. And I just saw recently that we just went past $16 trillion. It's like, oh man. And Biden wants to spend another 1 point something billion. And it's like, come on, guys. We gotta.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We can't just keep printing money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
the worst thing about it is that all the money that they're printing is not going for the things that they're saying that they're printing it for.
Right. It's either going to Ukraine or to Iran, which is really going to Hamas and Hezbollah, which will be our next topic coming up shortly here. So, what I would like them to do, and the thing that would get a handle on this, is to freeze spending for, I don't know, 2 to 5 years. And then after that, all right, we could start increasing spending, but not at the rate that we're going right now. Maybe a couple percent a year. And maybe if we got rid of a lot of the bureaucracy, that would save a lot of money for the country. And the military, everybody's always bitching about the military when the military, their chunk of the budget is so small. It's like 13, 14, 15% of the budget, where discretionary spending is a huge chunk of the budget, like social programs. And that's what's takes up the biggest chunk of the program. If we get, pare down some of those programs, get people working again, like we did under Trump. And that's another thing we could talk about is I put a thing up on Facebook about how many businesses, big name businesses that have closed. And I said, so this is a great economy, all these companies closing up. And then I had a couple liberal followers saying, "Oh no, it's really great under Biden." But I found a video, and I know I sent it to you, to where the guy said, here's what they did, is they manipulated the numbers, where they start at what was 2020, but if they go 2 years prior, that's when the Trumps had the highest uh, uh, employment, and we're not anywhere near the highest right now.
Right.
And
Well, I know you tried to. I remember you tried to send me something, but it wouldn't come through.
oh yeah,
And so I grabbed a little screenshot of what Facebook was telling me, and I sent it back to you.
yeah, I
So
saw
I
that.
did never get to see that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, and this guy also talked about gasoline prices, how they were much lower under Trump. Granted, during the pandemic, a whole lot of people weren't driving. That naturally lowered the costs of
Right.
gasoline, because the demand
Went
just
down. Yeah.
plummeted, because
I
people
mean,
weren't
the price of
home.
the crude oil back then actually was negative $50
Yes.
a barrel. So
Yeah.
even though the price was way down low, the oil companies were making money hand over fist.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right. So, and the funny thing about it is, one of my high school classmates, who is of like-minded like us, kept pointing that out to this guy, and this guy just left, you know how it is when you refute a
Yeah.
Democrat and they don't want to play anymore, because you've already poked holes into their argument, and it's like, then they have nothing left. And that's how that goes. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a really good friend, and we're not speaking anymore. And this was during the Obama administration. He kept touting how Democrats they're all about the Constitution, and I kept pointing out, no, they're not,
No.
because they hate the First Amendment. They definitely hate the Second Amendment. They hate the Fourth Amendment, and they hate, oh God, there was another amendment. It might have
Was it the
been,
14th, maybe?
yeah, the 14th. Yeah, because those are the four main things that really prevent them from getting what they want to do, which is pretty much total control. I mean, look at what's going on in Canada. I mean, they really don't have free speech up there.
No.
I mean, if you have a different opinion about, oh, I don't know, how Muslims treat people and stuff, oh, you could get sent to a re-education camp. Yes, I'm doing my Joe Biden. Yes, we saved him $20 trillion. So it's weird, and Justin Trudeau and the liberals, they pretty much banned handguns. So yeah, I like to see how they're going to deal with that. How they're going to try to prevent people from getting handguns, because they're
Well,
like the United States. There's a even though they're 1/10 the population, that they still have a lot of firearms in that country, because especially in the western half, because that's frontier country. Not a whole lot of people live out there. Or there's a certain area in Canada where of the population live. Isn't that astounding? That's in Ottawa, or not Ottawa, Ontario and Quebec. There's a certain, if you took the northern border of the United States and went straight to the east, 80% of the population of Canada is below that line. Wow. So most of their population is around Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Ottawa. Yeah. So beautiful country. I wouldn't want to live there because it's getting really damn expensive to live up there. And I don't like the cold. That's one reason why I want to move to the Philippines.
Well, plus they're becoming, a society that's easily as oppressive as China.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
They don't allow news in from outside the country. Mm-hmm. And although I sadly cannot quote him, one of my Canadian friends posted a thing from some person in Trudeau's Liberal government. And he said that he wished he had the power to be able to censor, and I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
That he wished he had the power to censor more stuff because of what people were learning online.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so we need to combat
people are learning the truth online, and you want to suppress it to keep the government, to keep liberal government in power.
Right. Yeah, because the truth to them is disinformation and hate speech. That's how those. And we got Steve Carpenter. Welcome.
Steve.
Good to see you, sir. Great to have you. So that goes right into our next topic, which is I just saw something where Nancy Pelosi wants to stop shipment of military equipment to Israel. I mean, isn't that the dumbest thing you'd ever heard? I mean, the Democrats say a lot of stupid things, but this is just really stupid because now you're giving the green light to genocide. Yeah, Germans couldn't do it. By God, Hamas could do it. Yeah, it infuriates me what they're doing, and they just don't see it that way. They want a ceasefire at any cost, and all that's going to do is let Hamas,
create
rebuild,
opportunities for
rebuild and rearm and wait until another day, and who knows, maybe next time might be the time that Israel can't win. I mean, heaven forbid, what if Iran smuggled a nuclear weapon into Gaza? I mean, they wouldn't have to deliver it. All they would have to do is detonate it in Gaza. And that would just cause a lot of destruction in Israel, because what that'll do is that'll send up a plume of radioactive material, which will make a large chunk of Israel unlivable. Kind of like what happened in
Chernobyl,
Pripyat, which is where Chernobyl is. Where that. So, and we got John the Pro Cut. Welcome.
Yeah.
Good to see you. That's right. And so here we are. We're pissing away money on Ukraine, and I think if Donald Trump gets reelected, I think he's going to sit down with Putin and Zelensky and say, all right, let's make a deal.
Play nice.
Yeah. And I think, and that's why nothing happened while he was in office, because a lot of people they weren't sure what Donald Trump would do. Yeah. So, and that's the advantage of keeping your enemies guessing what might happen to if they screwed around too much. And now we've got the resurgence of ISIS-K, which I think they ought to call them Special K.
Now I've only recently been hearing this. What is ISIS-K versus
Regular
classic ISIS?
Yeah,
It's like New Coke versus classic Coke.
Yeah, classic guys. You know what? I don't know if it's an offshoot of the original ISIS. Is it
Do they play K-pop when they charge?
K-pop? Yeah, that's right.
When they're charging, to attack.
Right. Or is the K stands for a region or a town or a city?
I don't know.
ISIS. Yeah, you're probably right, Steve. Yep. And the Chinese are afraid of him because, they know that he's going to play hardball with them on trade. Oh, yeah, that's right. ISIS K could be a low calorie. Yeah, that's right. So, where was it going?
Oh yeah, I looked it up. It's the Islamic State Khorasan province.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. All right. And gee, I wonder when they got resurgent. Oh, after we left Afghanistan, where all that hardware we left behind, you know? And I've been watching a lot of Nixon interviews, and it's like really scary how prophetic or prophet, yeah,
Prophetic,
how what he said is like, yeah, that shit's happening right now. He talked about the Shah of Iran and how if he was still president, he would have backed the Shah of Iran. And he explained the Shah of Iran was actually a progressive because he had land reform and he made it easier for students to study abroad, and a lot of people had more freedoms then. They were more westernized. And when the Ayatollah came in, they became a repressive regime, and all the people that benefited from the land reforms lost all their properties. So,
Well, I have a feeling that's probably what they wanted, to keep the Western influences out.
right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Even if they're good for the country.
Oh, great. Oh, Lloyd's with, or
Hey, Bill.
Bill's with Lloyd. All right. Awesome. Good to see you, Bill. And from what I understand, he's going on an hour early today, so I'll be able to jump on for a while.
Cool.
Yeah. So, what else is going on in the Middle East? And yeah, there's that, and we had some earthquakes happen. We had a 4.8 in Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah. And only a couple Chotskys got knocked off. That's
good.
Mm-hmm. Where in Taiwan, they had 7.8.
Yeah.
It's quite there. And our good friend Margie and Daya, who lives in Taiwan, I think she's an OFW there. She had some video where you could see things shaking in her apartment or storefront that she was near.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Also, watching the Nixon interviews, he talked about China and Taiwan, and he talked about Vietnam. He said, had he stayed in power, he wouldn't have let the North Vietnamese take over Saigon, because that's where we screwed up when Ford came in, and Ford. I mean, this was during the church investigation. He's former senator. I forgot where though, but he was investigating the CIA because of we incurred into Cambodia because we did that to prevent the North Vietnamese from going around and taking over Saigon. So, but been watching those videos and been watching videos on how the underground tunnels that the Viet Cong had. It was like amazing how they did all this. And gee, I wonder who else is doing. Oh, wait a minute, Hamas is doing that.
Yes.
So that's what's going on. And so been watching Time Ghost History, which is World War II, and they're going to be starting their series on the Korean War in about a month or two. So I'm looking forward to watching that segment because right now World War II is rapidly coming to a close in Europe, where there was in over on the Western Front, where we basically got General Modal's army surrounded. So he's screwed. He's got no place to go. So, and there's been lack of communication with his other generals and colonels. He couldn't get information, and it was just a big cluster, you know what, for him. So
Yeah.
the walls are closing in, and the Soviets are advancing on Vienna, and right now they're mopping up in East Prussia, which is Königsberg. Which, did you know Königsberg is the only uncontiguous part of Russia?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be. Now it's called Kaliningrad right now, where it was that whole area was East Prussia, and it was called Königsberg. And the
So what do you
Germans
mean by
had
non-contiguous? Is it just like a little city almost located in another country? Is that what you
right,
mean?
right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
bizarre.
Yep. Kind of like Alaska and Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not like a little city located in another country. They're
Right.
just not connected to the mainland.
Yes. And it's located on the Baltic coast. So it's a seaport, and it was a pretty important seaport to the Germans. And also, the Germans used to control Gdansk, which was Danzig, and Gdynia, which maybe Gdynia is Gdansk. I don't know. But there were two other major ports on the Baltic that were part of East Prussia. So if you look at a map of Germany during prior to World War One, I mean it had a big chunk of territory. After World War II, it pretty much shrunk in half. And then you had Germany split in half, where you had East Germany and West Germany. And and also, don't forget, Berlin was split as well. You had several sectors of Berlin where you had East Berlin was controlled by the Soviets, and then you had West Berlin that was split up with the United States, Britain, and France. So that's what. Welcome to Three Conservative Gimps and History Channel.
Yes.
So that's an interesting channel. They also have a bit called Out of the Foxholes, where people could submit questions to Time Ghost History, and they will read them on the air and answer the questions.
Cool.
But you cannot do it in the down below the video. You have to go to Time Ghost History community and post your questions there. Otherwise, if you leave a question like down, in the comment section down below the video, they will not answer those. So it's a really interesting channel, and they got a great group of people, and they're based out of Europe. Most of them are in Germany, but Indian Idell he's living in Stockholm. He's originally from Texas, which is interesting, and he's quite a character. If you get a chance, go watch the channel. They usually come out with a new video on Saturday morning, which would be about 8 or 9 a.m. my time, Mountain Time.
So this is a YouTube channel?
Yeah. It's called World War II. And they also have a segment called War Against Humanity, which is basically about the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And that is hosted by Spartacus Olson. And his wife and daughter, they are hosts of Spies and Ties. And they talk about espionage during World War II, which is fascinating
now,
stuff.
Is that Spies and Ties or Spies in Ties?
No, Spies and Ties. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe, I think that's that kind of ties, not the country, tie.
Yeah, like the a bow tie, like a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very, very Bond-esque sort of thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And they talk about all the spies going on in the Manhattan Project and the Cambridge Five, which was a pretty big deal then. And and some of the stuff that they did to throw off the Germans, where they had a corpse and they put fake documents on. They put him in a colonel's uniform, and they left him, and they found this body, and oh wow, look at these papers, and they thought that the invasion was going to be in Calais, Pas de Calais, which is the narrowest part of the English Channel. It's the closest point between England and France, where actually it was way down on the Brittany coast, which is Normandy. Yeah. So that's
which was
where,
still incredibly well defended. I mean,
yes,
our boys just walked into a meat grinder.
yes, they did. And had the Germans not pulled their troops from there to Eastern Front, I think it would have been a whole different story.
Yeah, yeah,
I think they would have been able to repel the invasion.
yeah.
Yeah, because uh, if you watch the series, you find out that most of the soldiers there were conscripts from the occupied territories, like Czechs and Poles, Hungarians,
Mm-hmm.
and even some French conscripts. So that was kind of fascinating. And they didn't, they only fought until they ran out of ammunition. They just, we give up. Yep. Where the Germans that were there, they fought ferociously. Yeah. And they also talk about the massacre at Malmedy, where the Germans killed 100 prisoners. And we sort of did the same thing at after the landing at Market Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
where we had. If you watch Band of Brothers, there's a scene where a bunch of German soldiers got uh, liquidated, so to speak, because they had no place to put them. So, and there was a scene where one of the soldiers from Easy Company found out one of the German soldiers was from Astoria, Oregon, and this guy was from, I think, Vancouver, Washington, which is on the other side of the Columbia River.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of fraternized for a few minutes, and then he was pulled away, and that's where, when one of the guys guarding him, mowed him down. So very interesting. Yeah, go back and watch Band of Brothers. That's probably one of my favorite war movies, and probably the most accurate. And where it starts off at boot camp in the United States, where they become the airborne troop, the 101 airborne. Yeah, they were part of the Normandy invasion. Yeah, go check it out. What else is going on? So we got more primaries coming up. Uh, so Trump's pretty much got the lock
Yeah.
on the delegates. So uh, the
I've
Republican
even heard
primary,
recently that Haley's backers are abandoning her and they're switching over to Trump.
right? And also I'm hearing that he may pick Tulsi Gabbard as his VP. She's a
Well,
former Democrat from
yeah.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Did she really? Did she really abandon the Democrat Party?
Yes. She she just did not agree with their ideals. She talked about when she arrived at Washington, and they had a not a caucus, but a meeting where they
Yeah.
talked about the Constitution. And she went to this event, and she noticed, wait a minute, I'm the only Democrat here. And when she went back to, the Democrats and said, well, how come you guys didn't show up? Oh, we don't go to those that's when she knew that things were not what they seemed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
Now,
that.
did
That
she
was
go?
her.
Did she actually become a Republican, or is she
No, she's an
considered
independent.
independent? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see because she will not challenge Donald Trump. Where I think Nikki Haley could be a pain in the butt for Donald Trump. And I don't even know if he'll even appoint her in a cabinet position because she was Secretary of the UN.
Yeah.
So,
The first opportunity, she threw him under the bus.
right. So I think another Trump term, he's not going to appoint, some of his business buddies in cabinet positions, like Tiller, who was head of Texaco, and he turned out to be a total disaster for that. And then when he finally got his bearings, he finally started appointing people to his cabinet that weren't hindering him. Like, who was that guy? Jeff Sessions. They had.
Yeah.
This guy allowed this Russian collusion bullshit to keep going on when he should have recused himself from it and
Yeah.
appointed a special counsel. And he didn't do that. So he basically fired him and brought in, I think, Pompeo, and that's when things started getting going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think what's going to happen is I think there's going to be investigations, of course. And this is my theory of what I think is going to happen if Trump gets reelected. Okay, say Trump gets elected in November, right?
Yeah.
Right after that, I think you're going to see Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton flee the country. And they're going to set up a shadow government in exile. And they'll claim to be the legitimate government of the United States. And they'll have this, they'll have the mainstream media eating out of their hand and agreeing with them. So that'll be really interesting to see how that. I think that might happen. They'll go to some European country that's friendly to them and set up a shadow government. You might even see some high-ranking Democrats in the Senate or in the House fleeing as well, like Schumer and who's that? Oh, Adam Schiff. He may escape. So I think, yeah, you're right, John. And I think what Trump, but he's not. He hasn't been sworn in, so he can't really do anything. But if they don't leave until, okay, heaven, if he gets not inaugurated, if they haven't left the country, I think Trump should confiscate their passports, and because they're a flight risk. Oh, of course, Ronnie. Yeah, I think it's either Hillary or Barack Obama running the show. And Biden is just a mouthpiece. He's just a puppet. And if you look at what Biden's doing, I mean, he could barely complete a sentence unless he's been given some medication to clear up his mind like he did at the what was it? Oh, State of the Union address, where he seemed pretty coherent then. Where a lot of times he'll just kind of go off strip and oh, yeah, yeah, like my father said, yeah, never take a pig from a donkey. Yeah. And he always scratches his nose. Yeah. You know who does the best impersonation of Biden is Dana Carvey. Oh, man. Oh, and that guy, Sean Gillis. Oh, God, that guy nails it. Yep.
I haven't seen his act.
Oh, you gotta check it out. And I've been watching a lot of Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan, he's not a conservative. He was a Democrat for a long, long time, and he's finally taken the red pill, and he sees the light because he's really big on the First Amendment. Because he's a comedian, he's taught show host, and First
And a
Amendment
blogger,
is pretty important. And what's really sad is a lot of my comedian friends that now live in LA are hardcore leftists, and they just don't see that if government gets control of the press, that they're going to start limiting their speech as well. They think that they've got free reign. Yeah. And that's what's going on. So, anything else going on in your neck of the woods? Are there any state assemblies, primaries?
Not right now, no. We just had our presidential primary,
Okay.
at least for the Republicans. Of course, Trump took that.
Right. Do you have like your state assembly where they chose?
Not until we discussed at near the beginning of the program. It's about the same time I believe it's about the same time as yours is, like June or maybe July.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. We had decent sized crowd tonight, not as big as the last one. I hope everybody had a great Easter last week, and you all have a great week, and enjoy the spring weather while you can get it. And good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.